It was never my intention to kill anyone. I just wanted to form a support group of women where we could all complain about men. I thought we could meet for a coffee or something a little stronger, then get on with our lives while feeling a little lighter. The idea for the group stemmed from a conversation with my best friend Emily after the latest incident of a man thinking he had the right to take up my personal space.
Death to All Men is a women's crime novel written by Amanda Nicholson. It follows Cassie as she tries to find an outlet to vent about men. One thing leads to another and she starts killing bad men. You can pre-order the book from paperback from websites like Amazon or Waterstones, or wherever you prefer to buy your e-books from. I know where and when exactly I died, almost as well as I know exactly when and where I was born. I know when the sun rose the first time when I was placed in my mother's arms, and she looks at me amazed at the love that only a mother has. Like I know when was the last time I breathed out loud for the final time, and fell to the ground, knowing I was never going to walk through the meadows again with the sun on my back, let alone see my family or any of my friends ever again.
Death, Andy N's second full-length novel, is as much a sequel to his first novel, Birth, as facing the end of something else altogether. Speaking with the same raw honesty and poetic grace that defined Birth, Death is a book that builds an unforgettable narrative that explores the very fabric and the beauty of life and the acceptance of its inevitability and wherever it may lead to next. The book will be out on 14th of February 2025 and will be available on all of the usual platforms.
Hi, my name is Andy N. Spoken Label, my author, artist and poetry podcast, was originally set up at the beginning of 2016 and now has a back catalogue of over approximately 500 episodes. We are always open to speaking to creative people, primarily in England. We will obviously go beyond that to Europe, maybe countries beyond that even for the right sort of guest. Check out our back catalogue. It's available on all the usual networks, including Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, you name it, we're pretty well on there. And I'm always open to submissions through my email address, which is aen1mpo@yahoo.co.uk. The podcast itself is free and always will be a free podcast. I am, however, always open to donations, and that can be also through my email address as before. Do it through PayPal, okay? But like I said to you, this podcast is free, always will be free, and we are always open to other submissions. Enjoy. Amanda,
Andy,
what are we doing today?
we're doing Spoken Label with a difference.
Yeah, now, Spoken Label, for people that don't know us and don't know why, I'll kick their asses, is an author artiste podcast. It's usually just me and a guest. Obviously, Amanda's here today. And it's not just Amanda's helping me out either. Is it, Courtney?
No, it's not. I'm helping too.
Yeah, now, this is Amanda. Amanda knows why, and Courtney knows why. Courtney, why are the three of us here today interviewing?
Oh, well, we're interviewing a very special guest.
Yeah, he's that much of an ego behind him. He needs three of us to contain you, don't you, special guest? No, he's one of the nicest guys I know, this one, but Miss Special Guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello there. I'm Lee, and what can I say about me? You probably would have heard us on Spoken Label before, a few months ago, and it's amazing to be here with three other people. Excited for this. Like I said before, I'm an actor, filmmaker, a published writer and poet, dabble in stand-up comedy sometimes, and a load of other things, so I like to keep myself busy.
You bloody do, mate. You remind me of where I was at your age, which is scary, honestly, sometimes. So, but now, obviously, Lee, we're here today to talk for something specific, aren't we?
We are, yeah. If you follow me on social media, you would have seen that on Halloween, I self-published my very first chapbook. It is a narrative poetry, psychological horror, supernatural chapbook called The House Built from Shadows. It is told in a POV of sort of the reader is the character. There's no set sort of character who's exploring. It's going to be you, the reader, or the one exploring the house and experience all of this that's happening.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, the reason what we're going to do today, folks, is I've never done this before as a podcast. This could go horribly wrong, and I think it probably will, but we'll have a laugh on it. Now, Lee doesn't even note about 2 minutes ago what we're doing here, did he, Courtney?
No.
No, Amanda, is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does, yeah. So now we've got here between me, Amanda, and Courtney, 13 questions for Lee. These are all numbered between 4 and 16. So what we're going to do, when we get going in a minute, Lee is going to answer each one of these questions, but he's going to shout a number out at us, and whoever's question it is will say it to them, to Lee. So poor Lee in this one. And I've called this the Trials of Lee, but I've also got a subtext for it is, how many times can we make Lee blush in 30 minutes or so? And Courtney, how many times do you reckon Lee will blush in 30 minutes?
Maybe like once. I don't know.
Yeah. The people are wondering, I think, Mandy, what do you reckon? Will Courtney blush more than Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, see? Dun, 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 right. So, right, Lee. You've had time to catch your breath for a second, my friend. Give us your first number.
Okay, I'm going to go very easy with number 10.
Okay, it's my question.
Perfect.
First question first. So, my question is, what made you lay out the book like you did into characters and use quotes to start each part?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I'll say about the quote first is I wanted it to sort of stand out. I wanted it to stand out from the other sort of poetry chapbooks that are out. Well, it stands out anyway because it's 54 pages. And a standard chapbook's normally 20 to 30 or less. But the quotes was really to sort of spice it up. Is I knew I wanted to split it into 3 chapters, 3 parts. And I was like, right, it's a bit boring. How about I spice it up with some quotes from horror films that sort of match one, what like this whole story of the chapbook, and 2, what each part is. So I racked me. It took like a good week to find the right quotes that would fit the 3 parts. And the way I laid it out like that was that's how I wrote it. I wrote it without really knowing an ending or what was going to happen because I wanted to be surprised myself when I was writing it to be like and get the ideas because normally when I write and I have a full outline, I'll be halfway through and I'll be like, I'll get an idea and I'll be like, I like this better than what I've got planned down. So I'll change it. So I says, why not just go with it? Don't completely pants it, don't plan it, and just go with the flow and see what comes out. And that's what happened.
Excellent stuff indeed, mate. No, I think it's often the best way of doing stuff like that usually. So you surprise yourself. No, excellent, mate. Okay. Next number, please.
I'm going to go with lucky number 13.
That's me. Right, yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask you a question about the clock room. I liked the idea of clock stealing names in this piece. Was that metaphor always part of the concept for this piece?
It was. I was always like, I want something to do with time distortion and sort of memory loss. And I was like, well, the perfect idea would be is clocks because they are what control everything. You know, time is what controls the universe.
Tick. Oh, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
no, sorry. I'm putting you off on purpose. So, no, excellent stuff, mate. Excellent indeed. Okay, some questions also go along with others. So, next one, please.
Cool. I will go for number 4.
That's my question. You got me again. I'll ask you a question. Um, so what made you get into writing horror and create this collection of pieces in horror?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, what got me into horror? I don't know. It's always been something I've been interested in. Like I remember the very first sort of horror. I got into horror early because I remember waking up when I was like what 7 years old or something and watching the Dawn of the Dead remake that had just come out in cinemas on
Hell.
TV. Yeah, it was on TV,
Wow.
and the first bit I remember, because I can remember it still, is the sprinting zombie with one arm missing running on towards him. In I don't know, it's just something that way because I've always had that interest in this, especially zombies. That's always been like an interest of mine. I started off writing zombie stories in like apocalypse type stories. The first one I ever tried to write was when I was 14, and I still have a draft of it somewhere. It's only like 10 pages long about a zombie apocalypse in Newcastle. And yeah,
Well, it's
it was,
quite realistic then, basically, isn't
it is, yeah. I
it?
mean, I don't think the plan was really very realistic, but like the idea, the locations were realistic. And yeah, I got into the paranormal when I was 13 because of the Enfield Poltergeist, a house I had the privilege to take photos at the other month, which honestly, 13-year-old me would have screamed with joy knowing that he was visiting that house. But yeah, what was the second part of the question? It was I got into horror in what else?
What made you want to create horror poems for
Ooh.
this collection?
Yeah, because certainly, like, it's worth clarifying for people. You don't see a lot of horror poetry collections that you've brought out here, Lee. That's for sure, mate.
So I remember getting wanting to create this chapbook earlier in the year about March. And I originally was just gonna like was looking through poems that I already had written, being like, can I make something like this? And I was like, I don't really have any that sort of flow with each other. Like I get it, it could be for a collection, but not something because with a chapbook, I like to get the idea of, and I've got the idea of it tells a story. It's meant to be like it's not meant to be narrative poetry. It can be. That's why I made it. But it's meant to be like telling the whole story through the short book. But I was like, well, so I started writing the first two in sort of regular, and I was like, it's not really much of a story yet, is it? That's when it clicked on. I was like, I'm writing about a cemetery in an old house. Why not? And I was struggling to write sort of other things that were more classical, I'd say, with poetry. But I was thinking horror has been my go-to since I was 14 years old. Why not just stick with what I know? And that's how. And like you say, I couldn't find any sort of horror poetry online. So I was like, well, I might as well tap into something that, if there's a market for it, and I'm good at writing stories like this, supernatural stories, psychological horror, regular horror. So that's how the idea of this haunted house came to be.
No, no, good stuff, man. Good stuff indeed, buddy. Okay, next, next number.
I'm going to go number 7.
Okay, that's me. And it's
Be scared. Be
what
scared.
made you decide to write in the first person?
Oh, I wanted it to stand out. I wanted it to not just be like any other chapbook or collection. I wanted it to be something where the viewer audience could feel like they're exploring this as they read. They're not just reading about someone going through it, or they're not just reading it from a first person perspective of a different character. That's why I did my hardest to avoid using any sort of first person tactics. So I don't gender them, I don't name them, I don't do anything like that. I wanted it may be so you're picking it up and as you're reading it, you're going through that house, exploring the different rooms as it's happening. You're experiencing what's happening to the person going through the house, which is you.
Okay, mate. Onwards and upwards. What's next?
I'm going to go 16.
Come on, mate.
Then that's me again. It's slightly different. It's not to
Yeah.
do with the book.
Oh
It's
God, you've got a great question here, Lee.
could you survive a zombie apocalypse? If so, how? And if not, how do you think you would die?
Oh, my time to shine.
Now, be
So,
careful, Lee. Here, you couldn't write a novel on this answer, mate.
uh, not surprising to hear it's something I've planned before in the past, to the point where I've been traveling and I've been thinking about locations in my head, thinking, if the zombie apocalypse started now, I could go there, I could go there, I could go there. So I would, at first, bunker down in the house. I'd sort of like turn anything that makes sound off, keep away from the windows, just observe, see what's happening. Then I'd try to find a weapon or something that's long, so I can at least have a range. Being in the UK with no guns doesn't exactly help, but I would mainly focus on food and water at the start. Border my house up as much as I can. And if I comes to the point where I do need to move, because I'm lucky to be far away from a main city, that I'm probably in a good area as it is. Because like if you're in the middle of city centre in Newcastle or Sunderland, when the zombie apocalypse kicks off, you're dead. The amount of crowds there, like that's all cut off.
Hang on, Lee. And
Best
then you
case,
wouldn't know the difference, would you? You TQ telling me, would you?
Same in Manchester as well.
Sorry, yeah, same in Manchester as well. Before we say that, I'm waiting for Manchester, so apologise to Manchester and Lee Newcastle. Seriously, mate.
but yeah, make sure I've got water, make sure I've got food, fill the sink up, fill the bath up, make sure there's that supply. If I did have to move, I'd probably go to, there's a big woods forest area in Gateshead. I'd probably go there because there is streams of fresh water. There is sort of supermarkets close by that, it's Gateshead, so it's very near Newcastle, so that could get overrun quite fast. So I'd say the supermarkets could still have some stuff on the shelves there. And I would have to try and learn to live off the land and make me way slowly up into Northumberland, where the mountains are, where the hills are, and try to basically do it 28 years later and make my own little society there.
Brilliant, and I can't blame you, mate. So we'll talk about 28 Days Later a bit later on, because I want to know what you think of the sequel that came out recently. So, but anyway, next question.
Okay, I'm going to go for number 9.
That's me. Okay, people will know, obviously, was this book actually wrote in order, or did some certain poems come first and then others later on? So, tell us about the structure of this book then.
I wrote it in order from start to end.
Oh, that's good going, that, mate.
Yeah.
So it's worth knowing of that when all the books I've done, I've never wrote that much in straight order. And Andrew, have you ever done poetry books like that? Orders of order?
No, I don't think I have actually. No.
Yeah. So what made you want to do it, Lee, in a straight order like you did?
I think it comes from not knowing the ending and wanting to surprise myself as I continued writing it. So I sort of had to write it from start to end in order to follow the story as I got ideas for it, to think it over of what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next, what could happen later on. And I think it worked because it's definitely got a few twists in there that I wouldn't have seen coming when I was starting poem 1 and 2. But by the time I got to number 15 and 16, I think was when I had the solid idea of this is how it's going to end.
Right. Well, not ask any more there on that, because I've got the feeling there's another question or two coming that might be asking in further depth on that. So,
Okay.
right, give us your next number then, please, mate.
I'm going to go number 12.
That's one of my questions. So there is like a seems like there's a consistent character, a name that's like in the collection, and what made you want to do that, and the meaning behind it.
Is that Emma by any
Yes,
chance?
yes.
Okay, so the name, I can't remember how I got the name. I think it was just a name that I randomly thought of as a sort of soft, simple name. Something that, isn't complicated, but is easy. In that character, I wanted it to be they are trying to protect the person going through the house, but they're limited to what they're doing because them themselves are trapped by the house in the. Mm, I can't say that's going to ruin it. And there's,
Spoilers.
yeah, I almost give a spoiler there, but yeah, there's not much they can do. They can only warn. So I wanted them to have a friend, let's say, who's looking out for them. And that's what the character of Emma is.
Nicely put. We'll move on because obviously that word spoilers is going to come up again. So we'll move on very quickly there. So
I had a sense of myself as I was answering that question.
you can always guarantee, honestly, Lee, there's always going to be one person that'll make you give spoilers out. Courtney. Sorry, Courtney. Okay. Give us your next number, please, man.
I'll go on number 5.
It's me. Okay. Yeah, this one, I'm always a big interested in locations and you doing things like this. And was there any real life locations or even, memories that inspired the house or the rooms?
Hmm. I remember going to a castle on Holy Island when I was a kid. And I remember thinking, ooh, I was 10 years old, and my main thought was, is there ghosts here? So that should tell you how young I was when I was into this stuff. But yeah, I always remember getting this sort of eerie feeling walking around. And it was a bit like there's a. I'm going to have to like say, have you got any questions about influences on the book?
Let's just double check. So, a minute.
Just
There's just a perks where I've got to do it now. Not really. Not really.
okay, well, okay, I can say one of the influences was the Lee Mountford book, Haunted Perrin Manor. And I sort of took a little bit of what Perrin Manor is like for how this house is. But I would definitely say the castle, oh, and Chilnham Castle in North. I remember going there, and that's haunted as hell. That's one of the sort of basis of that house. Just a creepy location with a bad vibe that you definitely think, yep, this place is haunted.
Brilliant. I've got to say, for your next question, I was thinking on the lines of this. I wasn't sure if this was an influence where the Manson House, for example, because or even like Psycho. Oh, but there's a lot of really creepy houses, particularly in America and stuff. I wasn't thinking of the British castle side of things, but no. Interesting choice, mate. Okay, next.
I am going to go for number 8.
That's mine. This feels more like a psychological horror, but do you ever write gory horror?
I have wrote Go in the past that has been published as like a book like this by a different by a it was a gaming company I was part of, and they wanted to get into stories, and they published a few stories which were about the same size, 50 odd pages. And one of them was based on, oh, which one was it? It was about a guy who's a Twitch streamer who gets involved in sort of the dark web, and he gets kidnapped by them and basically forced to join or else he dies. And one of his goals is to kidnap this 17-year-old girl to be part of a red room. And I don't know if you know what a red room is meant to be.
I can kind of guess because of the colour. There's going to be lots
It's
of blood.
yeah, it's meant to be
Yeah.
like a live stream on the dark web of a person getting tortured and killed. And so
Mm.
I wrote a scene where, against his will and on the viewer's suggestions on the live stream, he basically did some very bad things with a scalpel.
Lovely. Right. Well, I want to make sure this podcast gets broadcast, so we just won't go into more details on that. Apart from Courtney, are you making notes on this?
All in here.
Right. Let's check one, but I got that number wrote off the list, haven't I? Okay. Next one then, please, Lee.
I will go for number 15.
Oh, Christ.
Oh, that's me again. What do you find scarier, humans or monsters?
Humans. 100%
Nice.
humans.
Yeah.
And
Humans all the
Valley,
way.
let's ask why then.
Because when was the last time a monster killed someone in the real world?
They don't exist, do they?
Exactly. Monsters aren't always the evil creatures that you see. There's sometimes monsters that go out for revenge for humans, but humans are just, what they do to each other is just horrible.
Yeah.
Mm.
Agreed. Agreed.
Mm.
Hey, anyone off the list? Okay. Next. I think we're nearly done here, actually, isn't we?
We are. I've enjoyed this so much. I'm going to go for number 11.
That's me. Okay, now there's a quote from The House on Haunted Hill right at the start of the book. What made you want to start the book off with that quote?
Because it sums up the house, I'd say. House on Haunted Hill. It's a haunted house. Not exactly on a hill, I don't think, but it's one of those quotes that I've saw all the time, and it's like, what a perfect way, because that starts off the film. There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and maybe a few murders too. I'm not going to say it's a spoiler, but like sort of, you could definitely say that can sum up the story altogether.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea, mate. No, I've always believed if you're using quotes at the beginning of the books, they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
I think it's a great quote, that one, to mate. No, I agree. Right, let's just check what we've got left now. Right, so I think I'm right with this. Let's just check. I think I've got
Two left.
two left,
Yeah.
isn't it? Okay.
I'm going to go with number 6.
That's mine. I found it easy to picture the scenes in the book as I read them. Did you have the specific images in your mind as you wrote?
I did. Each poem, I planned the poem out as I was writing it. I wanted a lot of visuals happening. I wanted it to be visually there so everybody reading it could picture the room, the location, what's around them, and what the person's doing, who's in the room with them. I made sure to plan everything that out in detail so I had it all ready for when I went to write the poem so that I didn't leave sort of any detail missed out that would sort of ruin that visual.
I'm going to ask you another sub question on that. But was there any pieces in the collection that didn't behave like that?
Oh yeah, there was one which was very hard to write. And that was, if I quickly look up the intro, it was Lament and Loop. Because how can you describe a staircase looping in more than sort of a few words? So I definitely had to get creative with how I described that one.
Yeah,
That
fair
one was
point.
very tricky to do.
Yeah, it's obviously did that poem take you longer than the rest to write then, for example, because it was
It
really
did
tricky.
because I found myself repeating words like 3 or 4 times and saying, I can't do that. I need to be different. So it was a struggle to find the right words for what I needed to describe how it was a loop, basically, that he was stuck in.
Perfect. Right, I think we have one question left.
Dude,
I'm
we
going to,
got
before we
14.
reveal who's got the last question, Lee, do you want to have a guess who's got the last question?
Is it Courtney by any chance?
Yes.
Well
Yes.
guessed, well guessed.
Yes. Yes, it is. It is. And my question is about your last, like, your last piece in the book, like the structure of it, how you structured that out.
Yeah.
And it's like an ending, but like a fresh start at the same time. Like, why did you do it like that? That's my question.
Because I wanted the reader to understand that just because you've finished the book doesn't mean the house is finished taking its victims. It's on a loop of torment. There's always going to be curiosity, and there's always going to be people who want to explore that house. And so there's always people who are going to end up like you who have read the book.
Right, well, that's the panel questions. To wrap up with Lee, of course, do what I always do in spoken label. Uh, what's next for yourself? Could you see a sequel book coming up?
I've not got a sequel to The House Built from Shadows, but as Courtney knows, I'm already working on and have wrote the first poem for another chapbook called Where Fear Looks Back. And it's very similar in design and structure as this one.
Ooh.
It's going to be longer, though. It'll be 25 poems instead of 20.
Good luck, mate. Good luck, mate. I
Thank
won't
you.
ask you any more at the moment, but keep us informed. Okay, where can people get hold of your debut collection?
It is on all Amazons. So if any country that with Amazon, you can buy a physical copy on there. Or if you've got Amazon Kindle, you can get it there for $1.99. Easy.
Perfect. Social media plugs, mate. Take us out, mate.
If you want to follow me on Instagram, it is it's the underscore Lee underscore McShane. That's MC. If you want to follow me on TikTok, it's Unruly.
That's true. That's true. Brilliant. Okay, guys. Yeah, that's it at the end of part one. We're going to let Lee calm down from the perils of Lee for the last about half an hour. So it's been close to half an hour of that. So when we come back, he's going to spend the next 5 to 10 minutes trying to scare the somethings out of the three of us. Or try to anyway. He'll succeed in me. Amanda will laugh at him and Courtney just put her hands over her ears.
Yeah.
Seriously, thank you again, Lee. It's been an absolute pleasure today. I've been looking forward to this, mate, for a couple of
Oh,
weeks now.
it's been fantastic. It's been amazing. I've loved every second of it.
Thank you, Courtney, for putting up with my bad sense of humour and Lee's and Amanda's. And Amanda, I know you, Amanda. Amanda's been grisly, don't you, Amanda?
Yeah.
Right, we will see you on Two Shakes of Dice, guys.
Spoken Label.
Hey, guys, Andy again, Spoken Label. Amanda, are you still shivering after Lee's interview there?
I am. I'm scared.
Courtney, are you still shaking like a leaf?
Yeah. Very,
And
very scared.
now, people are wondering, obviously, Lee's going to do his best to really terrify us now, aren't you, Lee? So, what are you going to read? What are you going to read for us, mate?
Going to read, I'd say, two bit long poems from The House Built from Shadows. This first one is called Mimic in the Mirror. I left Emma's room with her warning in mind. Punch drunk, staggering into the corridor. Had it grown longer? Or was my mind playing tricks again? Turning to leave, I saw the stairs had been swallowed by darkness. This funhouse maze wreaked havoc on my brain. I walked, hand grazing the sandpaper wallpaper. An outline began to form from the ether. A portal at the corridor's end conjuring life. Step by step, it sharpened into human shape. When the corridor ended, I stood face to face with the figure. It was me. I laughed. Oh, my fear vanishing. Only a mirror. It covered the wall in a frame of silver light. My smile, cracked and weary, stayed back. But as I grinned in relief, my reflection snapped its mouth shut, its eyes piercing, its smile stretched tight and wrong. I moved my arm. The other me stood still. Its grin widened, twisting its lips to the corners of its ears. Rooted in place, a surge of cold terror ran up my spine. Then it moved. Not as I moved, but like a puppet on paper limbs. It stepped forward. Each jerk was unnatural. I tried to move, glued in place, tried to scream, but my throat was sand, and only a dry whisper escaped. It stopped just short of the mirror's edge. Black eyes burned through the glass. Then, its hands, now claws, grabbed its head and snapped it off like a branch. The thing hurled its severed head at the mirror. It burst through, like a football through broken glass. I caught it on instinct, a keeper saving the final goal. The head's mouth tore open and releasing an ungodly scream, high, inhuman. I dropped it, my legs unstuck, and I ran, plunging into the abyss. That is the first one. Try to find a very good one for you.
I mean, you should be saying there, Lee, all of them are really good ones, shouldn't you? But to give us number two, mate, seriously.
Where is that one? So this one is called The Girl and the Music Box. The scrambled egg in my head sloshed around. Was this corridor familiar, or had I been here before? A dull ache spread through my skull. The house was invading my very thoughts. Pictures on the wall turned to look at me, laughing at my torment. Or was this all in my head? I ran head first into a small pink door, adding to the agony. But when I stepped inside, the pain was soothed. The pink door matched the pink walls. A small bed stood in the centre of the back wall. To the left, a massive dollhouse, 4 feet tall. On the right, an open chest full of toys, with even more spilled around it like a moat. A music box lay on the bed, shaped like a pink jewellery box. I walked over and lifted the lid and watched. A small ballerina twirl inside. The tune, Swan Lake, was cliché, but fitting for the dancer. The notes danced around the room until they stopped, and the music box closed on its own. The overwhelming pigment of pink saturated my eyes, and they weren't the only eyes in the room. 2 little dots stared at me from behind the dollhouse. Hello, I said, keeping my voice light and gentle. Are you a bad man? A little girl's voice called out. I'm friendly, I said, kindness in my tone. Why are you here? The things in here aren't friendly, she said, her voice shaken. I'm not sure anymore. Why are you here? I live here, but I want to go home. The statement confused my already shaken mind. Why can't you go home? I asked. Because I live here now. I don't understand. Where are your parents? An ominous silence filled the room. Her answer didn't help. The house has me now, she said, and it will have you too. Her words came out flat. No childlike tone, no joke. What do you mean, has you? I needed relief. My sanity was dissolving. The house will rock you, hush and deep. Once you're in, you're mine to keep. She stepped out from behind the dollhouse, never breaking eye contact. The house will rock you, hush and deep. Once you're in, you're mine to keep. Doors don't open, time won't tell. You came to play, now stay a spell. Without another word, she dissolved into the air. Her giggling lingered. The hairs on my neck stood to attention. Her voice returned, surrounding me before fading out. Emma thinks you're good. So I do. If you don't leave now, they won't ever again. How do I leave? I pleaded with the young girl, but her voice never returned. I sat on the bed contemplating my fate. I had no idea how I entered this place, or when the music box had vanished with the girl. The door to the room morphed into a large double door, the pink shifting into blinding white. Thank you.
Yes. Amanda and Courtney, do you like to unmute yourselves? And do you want to boo and hiss Lee as much as you want? Because you know he loves it, right? Amanda, you're the resident horror writer more than me and Courtney are. Is there any comments you want to say about Lee's work there?
No, I enjoyed it. I only read it yesterday on the train to Bradford. So
Organised.
it's very familiar.
Yeah, no, seriously, I'm going to check with Courtney and anything Courtney else wants to ask you in a second. Do you find when you're performing the pieces like that, do they come alive in a very different way for you within horror?
It definitely does. Reading them out loud, rather than just reading them in my head, it does feel like it's an added sort of extra boost to it when it's being read and performed than rather just read on sort of just paper.
Yeah, no, excellent indeed. Courtney, is there anything you'd like to ask Lee, lastly?
Other than that, it was very, very, very good. It was very good.
Thank you.
And very scary. Very scary.
People wondering at the moment, Courtney has turned bright white now, she has, and she's been shaking for the last 5 minutes, haven't you, Courtney? No, seriously, guys, yeah, that's it for today. Go and check Lee's book out. It really is. I would say it's a nice, cheerful read, but it's not, right? But it's well worth your time. It scared the pants off me, it did, right? So, and if people wanted to get me and Amanda on the train yesterday going down to Bradford and might shake as well, so. And that's why nobody would sit next to you, Amanda, on the train, would they?
One way to get people lost in next week.
Well, thank you again, Lee, seriously, okay, mate? Amanda, as always, thank you again, okay? And Courtney, as always, thank you again as well. And thanks again to Lee. This sort of triage will be coming back again in 2026. Not in the realms of impossibility when Amanda's Ghost to Me is out. And then my court book will be out, like probably April. So then when's your poetry book out, Courtney? Is it May or something, is it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Ish.
And whenever Lee's next book's out, we'll keep this going. We'll do the triage of questions, right? I like this. Right, guys. Okay, as Don Callis over at AWS says, stay safe and stay over. And we will see you all next time.
Spoken, mate.